Shortcuts is the key to my ability to work from the iPad. These are automations that bridge the gaps between apps and the OS. This video is sponsored by Make. Let's get into it. Shortcuts are block-based automations. I did a beginner's guide to shortcuts already. I'm going to link that in the description below, so if you're not exactly sure how to make them or you feel lost, you can go check that out. I'll also link all of the shortcuts that I'm going to mention in this video in the description below as well. Now, shortcuts can be used for all sorts of things: converting data, moving stuff from one app to another, pulling stuff from the web, and just more. CaptureCut is one of my most used shortcuts. The purpose of this is for me to be able to write a note quickly and then save it to Obsidian in my quick note folder. Now, this is pretty straightforward normally. You just write a note in the shortcut. But if you have a Safari page open, it's going to attach the link to whatever page is open in the note and format it in a markdown style. This way I can quickly save something I'm looking at or want to research later or maybe want to buy or whatever. I run this shortcut all the time for quickly saving notes. Stuff I want to follow up on, notes from a meeting, things I want to get out of my head, etc. Launchpad quickly opens my Launchpad document. This uses the app Actions for Obsidian. Now, what this app does is it adds a bunch of native Obsidian actions to shortcuts. So the Obsidian app by default actually has no shortcut actions, but this will go through and add a bunch automatically. It makes it really nice for shortcuts like this that you want to open something or maybe append or prepend something, so that way you're not having to mess with like regular expressions when it comes to attaching stuff to documents. Launchpad is a document I mentioned in the productivity apps video of this series, and it's the document I use to link to all my current projects. This is something I use quite a bit, so it's really nice to be able to just run this and open that document from anywhere in the OS. Markdown to PDF takes plain text documents and turns them into PDF documents, something I do quite frequently. I use this for turning my scripts from Obsidian into PDFs and then moving them into GoodNotes. I run this right from Obsidian in the share sheet. It formats the document and then we'll save it into GoodNotes. I can then mark up the PDF or treat it as a shot list. Rich Text Converter is a shortcut I use to convert plain text into rich text. I mostly use this for emails. This takes whatever's on your clipboard, converts it from Markdown into rich text, so bold, italics, link, bullets, whatever. Now, it does have a separate option in here for making specific Markdown links for rich text, but as of iPadOS 17, you could do this automatically in the Mail app. I'm going to leave this in here because I'm sure it'll probably benefit people, but I don't use it so much anymore because now in Mail, you can highlight text, right-click on it, and hit Add Link, and then just paste the link. It'll make a rich text link right there in your Compose window. Like I mentioned in my productivity apps video, I use the app Drafts. It's a really powerful text editor, and it has support for external linking. Generate links to drafts lets you search for a note in drafts, and then we'll get the link to that draft. It'll format it, so that way you can paste it anywhere. In my case, I often do it in Obsidian, but you can put it in things like, well, the app Things, your task manager, spreadsheets, whatever. And then you could just tap on those links, and it'll launch right into that note in drafts. A nice way to jump into a specific note from an external app. TaskCut is probably one of my most used shortcuts. This takes advantage of the quick entry action in Things. This will first look to see if there is any Safari page open, just like CaptureCut works. It will then open the quick entry field in Things, and it will add that link that was open to the notes field. It then looks to see if it's running on your Apple Watch. The Apple Watch doesn't support the quick entry option, so it needs the more manual method. If none of the criteria match those options, it just opens the quick entry window. Here I can quickly fill out the task, adding project, date, subtask, any information, and then add it right into Things. This is how I add tasks into Things. I rarely open the app and just manually type out an action. I usually run this shortcut. It's a really handy tool for creating the tasks just from anywhere in the OS, like, oh, hey, I need to do this thing on Monday, or, oh, hey, let's go pick this thing up, blah, blah, blah. You can just do it from anywhere. Video. I have probably had hundreds of iterations of my new video project shortcuts. This is one of those ones I've been using for a very long time, but I've constantly been tweaking it. This builds out an entire project in Things and will put all of the tasks that I do for a video as a template. It's very specific to me, but you can modify the template to be for you and, to match whatever kind of project you do. When I run this, I can pick from the different kinds of project it is, and then it will add the specific task for that kind of project into it. Because of my ADHD, this is extremely handy to me. I want to make sure I have every step in there, I'm following my process, and I'm not trying to get ahead of myself or off the path. Snippet Cut is a shortcut I've been using for a couple of years now. This is my snippet manager, a text snippet manager. It does require using the app DataJar. So I use this to put all of the text snippets I use often. This can be stuff like email addresses, instructions, template emails, links, and more. When you run this shortcut, it gives you two options. You can take whatever is on your clipboard and add it right into DataJar, and that way you can pull it up later on. To set this up, like I mentioned, you need the app DataJar. You need to go in and create a list called Snippet Board. Now, what I use this for mostly is getting text out of DataJar. So when I run this shortcut, I can select the Get option. It gives me a list of everything that is in DataJar in this list. I can select one and it adds it right to my clipboard and I can paste it wherever it needs to go. This is really handy if you have text or snippets or whatever that you use quite a bit. Convert to Thumbnail is a shortcut I use for creating thumbnails for my YouTube videos, but this can also be just a handy image compression shortcut. The way this works is it uses the resize action. Now you can change here what the resolution you want of the image to be. I found the setting to be the long edge of the image to be 256 pixels to be a really good balance between a nice image and a low file size. Background audio takes a bunch of scenes that I made in DataJar. It'll pick a random scene and then just start playing it. I like this because I don't need to sit there and manually pick something. I can just run it and the computer's handling it for me. That's automation at its best, and I can just get to work. But it also mixes things up, so I'm not just listening to the same thing over and over again. Headphones is a shortcut I'm weirdly proud of. Sometimes when I put my AirPods in, they don't automatically pair to my iPad. Or if I take out my phone and I start doing something else, sometimes the connection moves over. And it's annoying because I don't want to have to go into settings and reselect connect to my iPad and all that stuff. So with headphones, I just run this shortcut and they automatically force my AirPods to pair with whatever device that shortcut just ran on. Now, speaking of running shortcuts, there are two main ways I run shortcuts. I don't use the widget anymore. I don't have the shortcuts widget on my iPad, which is really funny because I've been begging for the Excel shortcut widget. They finally added it and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm good now. Sorry. One of the two main ways I run shortcuts for my iPad is running them from Spotlight, especially when I have a keyboard attached. This can be done from anywhere in the OS by hitting Command Space and then just typing the shortcut name. Now, there used to be a bunch of bugs with running shortcuts from Spotlight, but those have all been solved with iPadOS 17. Don't have any issues running shortcuts from Spotlight anymore. It's just really simple to type the name of the shortcut, hit enter, and then you can interact with any menus or ask for inputs or lists or whatever. Action Cut is another way that I run shortcuts. Now, I did a whole video about Action Cut that I'll link to. I won't rehash all the details for it. But the TLDR or TLDW would be it's a shortcut that runs other shortcuts. So what I did is I took this shortcut and used the Add to Home Screen option. And then I put it in the dock. I specifically put it in the dock because you can access the dock from anywhere in the OS, whether you have a keyboard attached or not, or if you have apps open or not. You can just swipe up from the bottom if you have full screen apps open, even with Stage Manager. This is not something that can be done with widgets. From there, I can just tap on Action Cut and it'll give me the list of shortcuts that are assigned for that focus mode that adapts to the mode I'm in. It's mostly just shortcuts I use all day long. It's especially really handy in tablet mode. So I want to hear from you all. What is your favorite shortcut? Doesn't need to be one of mine. I would love to hear from you all if you have one that you made that's at one of your favorites. My thanks to Make for sponsoring this video. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great day.